Hey everybody, Jim Masters here. Coming up next, we have a legendary and iconic television and film actor extraordinaire. The one and only Tim Matheson is joining us here on the show. Remember him in Johnny Quest, or, of course, currently starring in Virgin River. He's actually up in Vancouver right now filming Animal House, Heart of Dixie, Yours, Mine, and Ours with Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda, The West Wing. The list goes on and on and on. We'll talk about some of that. He has penned a spectacular book. He talks about his life. He talks about his family. He talks about the ups and downs of the industry. It's Tim Matheson. Damn glad to meet you. My 7 decades in the Hollywood trenches. He's very busy again. He's going to be heading to the set soon to film some more of Virgin River. But let's welcome him to the show as we welcome you to the Jim Masters Show starting right now.
Hi, Jim.
Welcome to the show, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Such a great pleasure and honor to be here with you. Thank you very much.
You know, the pleasure is all ours. I've been looking forward to this for such a long time and a huge fan. And I also respect your work ethic. You are always involved in something. And now you're in Vancouver working on, once again, Virgin River, which is such a huge hit. It's got a cult following. We've had some of the actors and actresses who've appeared on Virgin River join us here on the Jim Masters Show, and it's been an absolute pleasure. You're working on a reading today you've got, right, for the series?
Yeah, before every episode, we sit down with the entire cast and the production crew and the writers and the network and read through the show and hear it for the first time all together. And it's our family, you know. It's sort of a way to just put our toe in the water for the first time and hear it and hear where the laughs are and what's fun and where the drama is. And it keeps us, because we all don't get together that much. Sometimes the show, you know, your characters are over here and those characters are over there. So you don't always shoot and work with everybody. But for the readings, it's great to be together and share that experience.
And how do you like it up there in beautiful Vancouver? And not too shabby a place or location, huh?
Not bad. Best salmon in the world. And, you know, Canadians are lovely, lovely people. FIFA is going nuts and mad here, you know, celebrating and having soccer games. And so it's wonderful. You know, it's almost the longest daylight of the year on June 21st. Which means there's only, it's light until about 10 o'clock at night, 10:15, and it's light 4:30 in the morning. So it's we get a long day up here.
Right. Going all the way back, my God, Johnny Quest, of course, everybody remembers Johnny Quest. We watched it as well. You had this wonderful, early, prolific childhood voiceover career in the industry, which I thought was really great. Voice of Johnny Quest. How did this come about for you, my friend?
Well, you know, what's so interesting that I discovered, because I started acting when I was 12 and
Yeah.
you know, and I was just a kid, and then all of a sudden you outgrow that period. And I was like, grew to 6 feet tall and started to shave, and now all of a sudden I'm no longer a kid. And there were periods then you have to transition to the next phase, young leading man or leading man or older leading man or whatever, you know, category you fall into. And you have to, about every 7 years, I figured my career morphed and grew and evolved into something else. And after my kid acting period, I started doing voiceovers, and it was an exciting time because I got to work with some amazing actors. Mel Blanc, who did all the Looney Tunes and all Bugs Bunny and all those incredible characters. And some of the finest actors I worked with were from radio and television, early television, and they were the cartoon actors. I mean, you know, putting emotion and character behind a dog's voice and a cat's voice and you know, Bugs Bunny, and it's like it takes a brilliant mind to do that.
You know, it really does. And to have an opportunity to partake in that, because these things, these shows that you've been a part of are a part of entertainment and broadcast history. And there's been so many that you've been a part of, my friend. Of course, even Leave It to Beaver. We had Jerry Mathers on the show, and one of the nicest guys on
Yeah.
the planet, right?
Well, I mean, I grew up watching Leave It to Beaver, and it was like a dream come true for me. I mean, I think I did like I was signed to do 3 shows. I think I did 2, and then I sort of got pulled into different things. Or I think I went off to do Yours, Mine, and Ours or something like that. And but Jerry couldn't have been nicer. And um, he actually, I went to my first Hollywood party at Jerry Mather's house, and I thought, wow, this is it. I've finally arrived. I went to a pool party at his house with his parents and a bunch of the other actors on the show, and it was like, this is Hollywood.
Right, exactly. A pool party at Jerry Mathers. I could only imagine how fun that must have been and how cool that must have been. You mentioned Lucille Ball, Henry Fonda, Yours, Mine, and Ours. We love that movie. That's a fun one, and
Oh,
the cast is huge. It's so well put together. But I know that you've referenced several times in a very respectful and loving way how much you looked up to Lucille Ball and really studied her on set, her precision, her perfectionism, her exacting way. She was like a mentor to you in different ways. Very, very professional. Hey, we got to get the work done. Time is money. But at the same time, you really had an opportunity to pick up a lot of incredible things from watching and knowing Lucille Ball, right?
oh, absolutely. And I was lucky, as a younger actor, that not many of my peers today ever had the opportunity to work with people from that generation. She came up in vaudeville, what I mean, and honed her craft doing 8 shows a day, in comedy and on stage, and it was a miracle to watch her work. She was tough. She was also very disciplined and wanted you to be disciplined. From the time I first auditioned, she sort of, I mean, she saw something in me that I'm not so sure I knew was there, and she liked what she saw. And I'd auditioned numerous times, and I did a screen test, and she was there, and she was very encouraging. She never, said, "Oh, you got the part," or anything like that until after I was selected to do the part. And she was just very, very supportive and encouraging to me in a very gentle way. And you got to realize she was the first female studio executive in Hollywood. And because she ran Desilu Studios, which was Mission Impossible and Star Trek and The Untouchables. And I mean, so it's an incredible number of shows they did at her studios. And then she had this script written for herself and for Henry Fonda and 17 kids, and I was fortunate enough to get this part. And she just always shared with me, like between takes or something, or between scenes, she would invite me to her trailer, and just when we talk, what do you want to be? What kind of an actor do you want to be? You want to be a star. If you want to be a star, you got to act like a star. And I think what she meant by that to me was, you got to be prepared. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know your craft, and you've got to be, you have to deliver it on camera on the day. You can't, just, it's not a get lucky kind of thing. It's like sports, you got to get a hit when you need a hit.
Exactly right. It's like a contact sport, isn't it? I think you've said that, but many times it's really intense. And if you approach it that way and, stiff upper lip and you got to create a little bit of an armor, because if you're overly sensitive, you could dissolve pretty quickly in the industry, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that was the lesson that Lucy taught. I remember when I was standing backstage a couple of years after Yours, Mine, and Ours. Here's Lucy was a show she was doing for
Right.
CBS, and with Lucy Arnaz, her daughter, and I was playing a guy who was dating her daughter, and it was a live show, and they had a scene, Lucy and Lucy Arnaz, and then somebody was knocking at the door. It was me, and I came in, and I was going out on a date with her daughter, and Lucy, in another scene backstage, she and I were backstage with Gail Gordon, who was a wonderful character actor. And she hired people that she'd worked with in vaudeville who,
Right.
for like a, 1, 2 or 3 line part, or, she wanted to help her friends from the old days. And so she had this lady backstage, and she had to make an entrance from backstage where we were all standing. And Lucy looked at Gail and me, and she goes, $10, says she blows her line. And I was like, oh my God, and the woman looked at Lucy and kind of winked and went out there, made her entrance, went out, played the scene, delivered her line, got her laugh, came backstage, put her hand out and said, you owe me $10. I mean, but it's like an
Right.
athlete, they give each other a lot of, hard knocks, but
Yeah.
she was really just sort of saying, it's tough. It's a tough show. It's a tough business, so just make sure you got the grit to get through it.
Exactly. Lucy Arnaz is a dear friend. She's been on the show several times, and
Sure.
she is incredibly funny. I mean, she's just, the humor is born within her. She can take something and, see a cat walk across the room and do a whole thing on it. She's extraordinary. Henry Fonda, too, of course, polar opposites in a way, Lucy and Henry Fonda. What was it like working with Henry Fonda as well?
Henry was just the simplest actor and the most earnest. And, he reminded me in many ways of Clint Eastwood and Spencer Tracy. I never worked with Tracy, but I worked with Clint. But basically, Henry's rule of thumb was you walk in the room, you hit your mark, you look the other actor in the eye, and you tell them the truth. And that was what he did. He made it really simple. He never was acting, he wasn't trying to do what Lucy was doing. He was so centered on being the father of our group. And he was so relaxed and comfortable on the set. Never left the set. He always sat in his chair, and always waited for the next take, and was always prepared. He was remarkable.
You have had the blessing, truly, and I know the gratitude you have for all of the experiences is profound. But you've worked with so many of the greats, as you're describing for us here. We have had, who's become a friend as well over the years, Larry Matthews, of course, from the Dick Van Dyke Show. And you worked with the incomparable Dick Van Dyke, who's 100 years plus now. God bless him.
God bless him.
Divorce American Style. What was it like working on that, and just working with Dick Van Dyke and everybody involved?
It was special. I mean, again, Dick was just so relaxed and funny and kept things light. And, Debbie Reynolds had a ping pong table on the stage, and we played ping pong with her, and we related to them just like our parents, but they treated us like pros. And Dick was so funny and light, and he kept it that way on the set, so that any tension anybody was having, oh gosh, he wouldn't allow that on the set. He just kept it light and funny and loose, which is the key to good acting, I think.
It really is. You also had the opportunity to work with the legendary Michael Landon, Bonanza, and then, of course, work with him beyond that. But several of the Little House on the Prairie stars on the show over the years who have talked about working with Michael and his genius. And what was it like having an opportunity to work with Michael Landon and everybody? You had opportunities with Bonanza.
Well, I mean, Bonanza was such an amazing show, and a landmark of television. It was the first color television show I ever saw. I mean, that opening credit sequence was, that music, and it was every Sunday when it was first on. It was, if you knew anybody who had a color TV, you would be there and watch it. But Michael was very patient with me, and he was wonderfully, he was writing the shows, he was directing the shows, he was starring in the shows, and basically producing the show at that point after Dan Blocker had passed, and Pernell Roberts had left the show. And but I was like studying acting, and I was taking it very seriously, and I was in my method acting stage, and I asked, so I was rather trying, I think, to some of the the actors on the show. But Michael was very patient and supportive and encouraging to me. And I'll never forget that. I mean, he just was, he put up with a lot from me, because I would take so much time during rehearsal, getting into character and stuff. And it was like, and he just walk up and just do it. But I mean, he'd been doing the show for 15 years at that point. So, but he showed me how, again, simple and honest and real was what he did.
Exactly right. And then he moved on to Highway to Heaven, of course, and Little House on the Prairie, and just his incredible body of work. As mentioned, again, you've had so many fabulous opportunities to work with some of everybody's favorite people. I mean, working with Anne Bancroft, Mel Brooks.
It was a dream come true. I mean, nobody is a finer actor than Anne Bancroft, and no one is a funnier or finer writer, director, producer, actor than Mel Brooks. But Mel is just, they were just polar opposites. Anne was just very simple and focused, but she was an Italian lady from the Bronx, or Jersey, I think, and she was tough, and she could give as well as she got from Mel, and Mel was just so excited and energetic and just filled with humor, and could make any situation, find the humor in every situation. So it was just great to be around him and his crew, and it was a real honor and a treat. I remember we had one scene that I think you just had a picture of the three of us. I think that was one take. It was done. It was about a page long, and you really had to be there and in it and stay with them. And it was like playing tennis at Wimbledon with those two people. So I was tested and learned a lot from both of them.
It's amazing. Your range is extraordinary, because you've done, thriller to, dramatic to comedic, extraordinary holiday movies, just whatever they throw at you, you have a magic about you to be able to take it and make it your own, which is really extraordinary. You've also worked with, again, you learned how to commit marriage back in 1969 with Bob Hope and one of our favorites, the one and only Jackie Gleason. I know you learned a lot from them as well, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I played Jackie's son, and he was one of my favorite actors, and I used to watch his show every week. The show.
Bang, Zoom.
Oh my God, he was just brilliant, and plus the hustler. I mean, he was a great dramatic actor and a comedic actor, and but again, he was one of those people. He'd been around since vaudeville, and him and Hope, and they had a certain repartee and an ease of working with each other, and they loved golf, and they just, they loved to laugh, and they made the set fun. I remember once Jackie, he was so generous to me. We were working with a band who was in the show that they weren't actors, and they were like a hippie band that I was a member of, and a younger actress, Joanna Cameron, who I think it was her first movie, and she was very nervous. And after a couple of rehearsals that didn't go very well, Jackie looked at me and said, "Kid, you and I are the only ones who know what we're doing here. Let's just get this scene done and get out of here." But I mean, so that was Jackie. He would just embrace you, and he was always a great partner, a great scene partner.
You've had a wonderful friendship over the years with Kurt Russell, going back to 1976, The Quest.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, huh?
Well, Kurt, he's again another legend and a great pro, and I learned a lot from him, because at that time, I'm a little bit older than Kurt, maybe a year or two, and he was like an older brother to me, because he'd had so much experience, and he'd done so much, and that was my first sort of really co-starring role in a series that I was, the two of us were leading in and he just always had a way of looking at things and a way of describing how he approached his acting that always informed me and taught me, again, don't overdo it, don't, and listen, it's a long haul, to shoot a series like that where you're in every scene. So you've got to pace yourself. And I think it came from Kurt was a professional athlete. He was a baseball player, and his father was too. And they owned, I think it was the Portland Mavericks or something. They owned a team up in Oregon, baseball team, minor league baseball team.
Right.
And he approached his acting much in his career, much like he did sports. You just again, be prepared, but you have to have the grit and the stamina to endure in this business and in the program. And it's a long season, so you got to pace yourself.
You really do. Absolutely. So many incredible things that have come your way. The book, which we're also talking about, and then we're talking about the paperback version, which is out recently as well. And congratulations on this. Really, really beautifully done. Damn glad to meet you, which comes from a line in Animal House, 7 decades in the Hollywood trenches. Really fantastic, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
The experience of being a part of something like Animal House, which has truly become cult-like. I mean, people can't get enough of everything to do with the movie. John Belushi, everybody involved. How did the opportunity come to be a part of such an iconic situation as National Lampoon's Animal House? And I believe there was a period of time where you owned the magazine as well.
Yeah, there was 2 questions there.
Yeah.
The chance to be in the movie came up at one of those junctures in my life. I've been doing Westerns. Just finished The Quest, and I was taking, I was looking, and all the Westerns had sort of ended. Bonanza was over, and Virginian was over, and all the Westerns were gone, and The Quest was done. And so they weren't doing any more Westerns. And it was sort of a big segment of my career. And so I needed to start something new. I started taking an improv acting class, the Groundlings in Los Angeles, and learned, how to do improv. And it was that which gave me the opportunity when I had an audition for Animal House to get the part. Because they didn't want me. They said, no, he's a dramatic actor. No, he's a cowboy or surfer. He's not preppy. He's not right for this. And when I got in the room and could improv and play the character that I knew I could play, I got that part. And unfortunately, Belushi was so embracive and lovely and welcoming to all of us, and myself especially. As a good improv actor, he just embraced what you did and built on it, and I loved the Lampoon growing up. And then a few years later after that, I think 10 years or so, 15 years later, the Lampoon was falling on hard times, and I tried to we raised a great deal of money and tried to turn it around, and we wanted to relaunch its movie and television arm, but unfortunately it was harder than we thought, and we ended up having to merge with another company, and I finally just went back to acting. And but yeah, I adored the Lampoon, and I wanted it to, and was so sad that we couldn't revitalize it like we wanted to.
Isn't there a story too, a rather hilarious story as it is, the timing and the place where you're on a boat with your dad's ashes going out into the ocean, into the water, and the captain of the boat recognized you and asked you at that point in time on the boat while we're remembering Dad, what was it like working with John Belushi?
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean,
you'll have to sell T-shirts that say that, because that's the number one Tim Matheson question.
My father, he never quite understood what I did, and after every job would end, he'd sort of go, "Now you're going to get back in, you're going to get a real job." And I go, "No, Dad, this is what happens. You just get another part. That's what one job ends, and you do another one." And when my father, we weren't very close growing up because my parents were separated and divorced. And when he got sick and got older and got sick, I invited him to come stay with me, and I could look after him for the final year of his life. And he ultimately passed, and he was cremated. And I took his ashes out to sea, and we got on a boat. It was me and a young lady I knew, and this captain of the boat didn't pay any particular attention to me or anything. And he just said, stopped when we got 2 or 3 miles out, and he said, "Listen, I'll go up to the front of the boat, the bow, and then I'll let you have your moments back here with your ashes, and you can, and you have your privacy." And so he just walked up there, and just as I was leaning over the back of the boat and just trying to find some proper words to express my love for my father at this wonderful, incredible, dramatic moment in my life, the guy goes, "Excuse me, hey, you're that guy from Animal House, aren't you?" What was Belushi like? I mean, it was like, I said, "Can you just give me a minute here?"
Right.
And I just thought my father would have really appreciated
that humor and just the situation, the timing, and the place. You've said often that John Belushi, was fantastic to work with, and he created it was like a family atmosphere, and you had an opportunity to have a wonderful relationship during that time and beyond, because after Animal House came 1941, Steven Spielberg and company, the great Steven Spielberg. What was it like also working on that?
Well, it was great. I mean, Spielberg is a genius. There's nobody I think ever been like as successful and as formidable a director as he is. And the range of movies that he has made and the duration of his career is just impeccable. I mean, it's sort of John Ford, Clint Eastwood, Orson Welles, all mixed into one. I mean, he's amazing. But it was sad because you could see the toll that his success had taken on John Belushi. I mean, here he was the Blues Brothers and Animal House and Saturday Night Live. So he had the #1 TV show, the #1 album, and the #1 movie all at once. And I think he was just overwhelmed by the success, and people always wanted to party with him. And he was seduced by that kind of lifestyle. And it took a tremendous toll, obviously, on him. And we lost him. And he was such a wonderful, warm, caring, giving human being. And that was a side of him not many people saw. And I saw it because, when we socialized, he was just there. He was a giving, loving man. And we could just talk about our favorite movies, and I'd show him Japanese movies that I loved. And, when he'd come over, and so I got to see those moments, and that's what I missed the most, in addition to how brilliant he was as a performer.
Absolutely. Did Reba McEntire do the foreword for the book?
Yes. Well, she wrote me. She gave me a nice quote to put on the book. I learned. I did a TV movie called Forever Love.
There you go, 1998.
Yes. Yeah. And what a treat to work with her. And I sang with her. I did a duet with her, and she didn't laugh at me. And she, what I learned from the country stars was how to behave towards your fans. I was always kind of like embarrassed or shy when people would want an autograph, and she couldn't do enough. She couldn't just give to her fans. And now she'd do a 2-hour show. She'd spend 2.5 hours backstage taking pictures, signing autographs and stuff. And that was, anybody stopped her on the street, she always gave them her full attention and talked to them, signed, pictures and things. So it taught me how to behave. Hey, you wanted to be an actor, you want to be up on stage, you want people to notice you and call attention to yourself. Now you got to give it back. So I found from the country performers that I've gotten to know and work with, that's a trait that they have and share, and they're very generous to their audience.
We'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the Wing, the beloved West Wing on NBC. Being a part of that, how did that come your way, Tim?
It was an audition,
Yeah.
I was at a point where I, usually was just getting a call to and getting an offer for a show. You get to, your careers have ups and downs. And there was this point where I usually just get a call. They say, hey, they'd like you to be in this show. And I got a call to audition. And my agents at the time said, no, we don't think you should go in and audition. And I said, well, it's Aaron Sorkin. I mean, I loved Sports Night and I loved his work. And I said, are they going to hire the actor that without an audition? And they said, no. And I said, I'm going in. I'll go in. I just go in. And I went in and I kept it loose and fun. And, we talked about the character and that he was a certain kind of politician. He was, he was an old pro, and he really didn't think that this Bartlett guy should have been president. That he should have been. I should have been president. Hoynes should have been president. And but the way that Aaron explained it to me, he said, he plays a lot of golf, and he's just he's a guy from Texas, and we approached it that way. And I did a couple of audition scenes, and played it that way. And by the time I got home, I got a call saying he wants you to be in the part. And I said, great. I couldn't have been more thrilled, because Aaron Sorkin is perhaps one of the finest, if not the finest writer I've ever worked with.
Oh, I loved Newsroom too, when he was doing Newsroom, and I really wished that had continued, because that was I could see you appearing on an episode or two of that as well. I know our time is limited, my friend, but you've done some radio broadcasting in the early years too, right?
I went to radio school. There was in LA place called Don Martin.
Kindred Spirits, we are here.
Exactly right. And it was my way of, I thought if acting doesn't work out, I loved radio. And I just thought, well, I'd be happy doing that.
And even possibly a little sports television. You got to be on ESPN.
I did.
Which
I was in Eugene, Oregon, and wearing my Animal House costume there. And
how cool is that, huh?
And Eugene is where we shot Animal House, so that's why I was there.
When you look back at all of it, my friend, you've had an opportunity to be in so many extraordinary shows and performances. You're a wonderful director as well, and producer. The list of accolades, of love, of fan support, of working with so many incredible people, even being buried alive.
Oh my God.
I mean, this guy takes it, you just throw it at him, he'll take it on, and he'll
one of my favorites.
That was incredible. Getting mud in your eye and all. Killing Reagan, of course, which is another brilliant performance.
Thank you.
And there you are with your lovely wife,
Elizabeth. Yes.
Yes, and your wife and your children. You've been able to balance it all out. You're an extraordinary guy, and I really am so happy to have an opportunity to welcome you to the Jim Masters Show. And I hope it isn't the last time. We'll keep the porch light on for you. But before we slip out, because I know you've got that reading coming up, what would the Tim Matheson, with all these rich experiences, all these amazing people, and all the work that you've created yourself for all of us, what would you say to this young kid here, wide-eyed and curious and wanting to take on the world?
Oh, I think just keep having fun, and that the crew is your family, and just be generous and kind and embracing to all of the people on every set you work with. And that's your job, really, is to bring that love of that group together and share it with an audience. I mean, and that's a gift that you're given a chance to do that. And I keep thanking God and the forces of the earth that I can still keep doing this, and I love it as much as I do.
What inspired you to write the book? And thanks so much for doing it, because it should be in acting schools, libraries everywhere. Because as much as it is about you sharing your life, the ups and downs, and so much more, there's so many teachable moments in this incredible book, hardcover and paperback.
Well, thank you. I just try to share, like, especially as a director, you learn a lot of things in film school, and I took film courses and all that stuff. And you learn about sort of the esoteric aspects of cinema. Whereas I was trying to get to pragmatic and the lessons you learn and need to survive being a director in television or movies, is that you've got to make your day. You've got to figure out how to do all the work you have every day, capture it on film or digital, and get it done in the amount of time you have, and embrace the people that you're working with and make sure that they're supportive of you, and you're not any better or above the people that you're working with. You're only there and as good as the people that around you and are there to support you and help you.
Absolutely. Tim, you are the best. Truly a real gentleman, funny guy, a tremendous talent,
Thank you, Jim.
Hollywood legend. But you know what's great? Hollywood legend, icon, all these things. You're approachable. You're the real deal. You're authentic. You're a great conversationalist and a storyteller. And it really is an honor and a privilege and a pleasure. I've been a fan of yours and following your work all the way back to Johnny Quest and then some. And it really is a pleasure, as a TV radio guy myself, to have you on our show. Come back and see us.
Yes.
Enjoy, of course, Virgin River. You're loving that role on Virgin River, right? That's near and dear to your heart, and you're perfect for it.
Oh my gosh, Doc Mullins, you bet. And playing a doctor again.
Yeah, that's it. The doctor's in the house. I hope you enjoyed the time with me, Tim, as I absolutely have with you. It's been a real honor and a pleasure.
Great, Jim. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Congratulations on the book, my friend. Come see us again and be well, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
The one and only Tim Matheson joining us here. I was showing you Virgin River because he is actually going to be doing a reading, as of course he is in that, and people love him in that. So do we. But there's so many other. Remember Fletch? Yeah, Fletch, of course, as well. Just one of the many things that he's been a part of. And he did get a chance to reminisce a little bit about Animal House when he was on ESPN. He talks also a little bit about being buried alive and being buried under the mud, and how getting mud in your eyes, not too pleasant. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Heart of Dixie. I know a lot of you love him in Heart of Dixie. That was another great one too. Of course, 911 Nashville. As I said, if you look at his body of work, he has been with us all these years on television and on film in some way, shape, or form, all the way back, Leave It to Beaver, and so much more. He's extraordinary. This is a great recent shot of him, and we appreciate the folks at J Squared Photography for sharing this with us. He's one of the good guys, folks. Thank you so much. This is Jim Masters. Thank you for your time this time. Till next time, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Go back in the archives if you love deep dive celebrity conversations and so much more. Check out all the other episodes we have there for you. They go back again and again and again. Be well, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers.